Now, one of the interesting conversations roaming around in terms of battery use and also the makeup of batteries that are found not only in cars that we are actually currently having debate about, like the Tesla Cybertruck. Hopefully that should be coming out very soon, maybe 2021 or so, or out for production, but also the Lightning Ford F-150, and also how those variations of cars, either trucks or cars, they run on a specific type of material, which is, I would say, that rare to find, of course, but down the road, when we exhaust all our resources on that and not being able to break them down, how are we going to be able to look for alternatives that may be better, may be lighter, and also maybe more efficient? We're talking about lithium-ion batteries, and from my previous video, you all should have checked it out. It talks about some of the limitations behind lithium-ion batteries and how the new future, which is more of an hybrid between solid state and that of ion-based lithium, will be the potential future of batteries, and how this is going to prevent so many limitations that lithium-ion batteries poses in terms of long charging time, also in terms of dendrites, which leads to a couple of leakages and therefore limits the efficiency of that particular batteries. And that will be not only found in cars, for example, but the use of other devices that are currently out there, either being your specific phones that you have or your laptops. And these are one of the conversations that scientists, I'll put it this way, chemists are battling with in terms of how to create more degradable or more efficient batteries. And speaking of degradable, we have a specific article that actually came out recently, and this article today from a chemist is really fascinating, I must say. And the article says, new battery made from amino acids is light, functional, and recyclable. Those are the three things that are really big importance in terms of how particular devices are created. You want a device that is light, small, portable, functional, recyclable, and that is what we call efficiency, which is what we want for ourselves in terms of how we're going to maintain the state of our environment, because we know that the more things that we use, the more we need to be able to recycle them. And all these conversations comes into play in terms of companies bringing out devices, and then when you're done with those devices, how are they recycling those materials in them enough for them to use them again to make new products. And those conversations are actually going around right now, the right to use, and all these interesting conversations that we're going to be talking now and in the future. So let's keep this in mind. So based on this article, it says here that sandwiched inside your laptop at the back of your smartphones and under the hood of your dream electric car are powerful, lightweight lithium-ion batteries. Even though these batteries are found inside the technology we use every day, they are rarely recyclable, which means that the valuable material inside them are not recovered for reuse. And so researchers at Texas A&M wanted to build a battery that would be lightweight and powerful like the lithium-ion batteries, but that would be much easier recyclable. To do this, they did something that had never been done before. They built electrodes which transfer electrical charges in and out of a battery with degradable polymers instead of metals. Now, these results appeared in the journal, which is Nature. And so this is where this comes into play, where you talk about different types of biochemicals that we have in our body or in nature. We talked about DNA, of course. That will be an interesting use for specific building of batteries. But now we're not going to use nucleic acids. Carbohydrates, well, we talk about carbohydrate being like the energy source, of all living things, and where you break down that, you can release a lot of energy, ATP in there, but not really. And maybe fatty acids or lipids will be another alternative in terms of specific types of, I would say, biochemicals that will possibly be used, and when you build them in form of polymers, that could actually be a possibility. But The researchers here on the other side said that the researchers chose polymer called polypeptides. Now, polypeptides is actually used to make big proteins, and so starting from amino acids, you make very specific connections which are called peptide bonds that creates peptides, and from peptides you can go polypeptides, and from polypeptides go to 3-dimension and quadrupolymer or quadruple proteins. And so this is really interesting because this polymer breaks apart into their building blocks, which are amino acids. There are 20 amino acids. Possibly, maybe if you go to other research, they might say there are more amino acids out there, but we're just going to leave it there as 20. So when heated with just the right amount of acid, polypeptides are not inherently conductive, though. So the researchers chemically modified them by attaching structural units that can transfer electrons back and forth, which is really impressive to actually think outside of that box. How about we change specific segments of the R group in the particular amino acid to improve the conductivity, which means movement of electrons from one point to the other. And I feel this is really impressive, and it got me thinking about how would the electrons be moving. Will it be based on the use of, I would say, pi systems, types of amino acids, derivatives, or many more systems that could lead to movement of electrons? And so I'm really interested to know more about that. Will they include various metal ions around the specific R groups? So those are really interesting conversations to have in here. So looking at this in this particular conversation, they then built electrons by mixing the polypeptides with the carbon black, another conductive material, and a binding material to hold everything together, which is really cool. After successfully charging and draining the new batteries up to 250 times, the researchers disassembled the batteries and broke the polypeptide electrodes down into amino acids and other small molecules, building blocks that could be reused to rebuild batteries electrodes later. Now, although the polypeptide batteries didn't perform quite as well as traditional lithium-ion batteries, which is suspected because this is just trials in this particular case, they are an exciting alternatives because the energy storing material inside them would easily be recovered. Inside them were easily recovered by degrading on demand. These batteries could pave the way in a new class of recyclable batteries for the technology that we use every day. And I think this is really a magnificent idea to be able to think outside the box, use various chemicals or biomolecules to energize various systems that governs all our particular social and also our technological lives. And in here is one of those things where you have to be able to look at things that we have and build on it to make things better. And don't start from scratch. I mean, you can start from scratch, of course, but what are the things that are existing out there that can support the specific task that is at hand? And this particular challenge, which involves in this case creating a battery that is more recyclable, that is also really important according to the, I would say, topic, which is specifically looking at functional and also more lightweight compared to other types of batteries, is really a huge game changer. Imagine a battery that is really lighter than the lithium-ion batteries found in cars, but also produces that much power and efficiency in terms of how it accelerates and also be able to perform other tasks, like for example, pulling or I would say towing various objects. That is really magnificent in terms of how we're going to be able to see the future of electric cars and also how this will actually change people's persona about the use of regular vehicles that are all gas required or necessary compared to electric cars. What are the incentives out there that will make people to move from diesel or fossil driven cars to more of a particular greener or electric vehicles? And I feel this is one of the conversations that we're going to have now in the future, and I'm really excited to have these conversations with you all. What do you think about polypeptides being a really fantastic alternative to lithium-ion based batteries in terms of improving the lightweight factor, but also the functionality, and also how recyclable that is going to be? Degradable, definitely. It's going to be cheaper, definitely, compared to lithium-ion based batteries. So let me hear your thoughts about this in the comment section down below. Other than that, please, I really appreciate all the conversation that we are having, but that way I can see you all soon. Stay smart as always and believe in yourselves.